Hey, thanks for watching Chief and Grandstand. Today we are making chicken stew. We're gonna can the chicken stew, and Nana found some leg quarters on sale. She bought about 20 pounds, and I think she's got about $13.50 in it, 14 at the most. So if you're interested in knowing how to make chicken stew and can chicken stew, please stay tuned. If you watch it and have some comments or suggestions, please leave some notes. We're always happy to listen. Stay tuned. Hey, thanks for watching Chief and Grandstand. If at the end of the summer you've got more tomatoes than you do time to be able to process them and you don't want them to go to waste, this is an idea, and this is what we do. These tomatoes, if you'll wash them, you take your tomatoes and wash them, throw them in a freezer bag and freeze them. Now, this doesn't let you slice them, but you can use them for anything that you need crushed tomatoes for. Stews, chilies, dips, things like that. This is great for that. What we did is we got some hot water and put them in there. And then as you can see, the skin just comes right off. If I had both hands, you just pinch it and the skin comes right off. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and crush this. What we're doing today is making homemade chicken stew. We're going to can some and eat some. But this does give you an option on what to do with your tomatoes that you have that you can't give away. You've got too many and you don't have time to get to them. Wash them, freeze them, and they'll be ready to go. Okay, once you've got your frozen tomatoes, it's like what we've got. What you do is you want to core them. You want to get the core out. And you see, Nana, they're still a little frozen in the middle, which is fine. Kind of makes it easier to core. Taking that out, and then you kind of look for bad spots. These are all peeled already. She go ahead and peels them. So once you get them cored and the bad spots cut out, then we're going to go ahead and crush them a little bit, and they'll be ready for a chicken stew. Okay, what we got here is we've been boiling our chicken. This is the 20 pounds of chicken that Nana has gotten. These are the leg quarters. The key thing to remember here is we need to save the water that the chicken's been boiling in. That's going to be our chicken broth, and we'll need to use that for a ton of different recipes, for our canning and things like that. So make sure, don't throw that away. We're going to go ahead and debone this meat once it cools off, and we'll see what happens next. Okay, so we're taking the chicken out. We've got a little strainer here. This is also our catfish frying equipment. So if you have that, that works really well. So Nana, once we debone this meat, what do you do with the broth? How do you filter that? Do you run it through a cheesecloth or anything? Or do you just like the little fat stuff? What's next?
I take a large tea strainer and drain it through it. Most of the fat pieces, the little bony pieces that cooks off the chicken, we'll pitch in that. And then I let the broth cool because it's going to have a lot of fat on the top. Actually, I get it cold, and once it gets cold, that fat will come to the top, and you'll rake it off, and then you can reheat the broth because it'll be like in a gel form. And once you reheat the broth, it's ready to use.
Okay. Well, stay tuned. We'll show you what's next. Okay, we're straining the chicken broth now. Just took a Pyrex or anything that's glass or metal. You can use a cooking pan if you wanted to, and just scooping it out, putting it through the tea filter, and you see all the little bits in there that it's filtering out. So all of this that's under there, that's going to be our cleaned chicken broth. You can see some of the fat already that's cooling off. That's what Nana was talking about, scraping off, and then you can reheat it later. So, okay, we got Nana and Grandstand deboning the chicken. Now what you want to make sure of is you want to check a few pieces and make sure it's done first of all. But you also want to make sure that all the skin's off, all the bones are out, the cartilage, you want to make sure that's all out. All you want over there in I guess the good meat bowl is just the actual chicken meat. But be sure to get all the gristle, bones, skin, and any other, I guess, hard pieces or whatever. Get it out. Okay.
It's dark meat, so it's going to have dark pieces.
Yeah. This is leg quarters, so it is dark meat, like Nana just said. But you know, some of the bigger pieces, you maybe break it in half or whatever. But as you're canning or cooking it, you're stirring all your stuff together, this stuff is going to fall apart. So there's no need to take the time and go ahead and shred it and all that stuff. It's going to fall apart on its own as you cook it. Okay, this is our chicken broth that we got out of the big stainless pot. What we're doing is we've had it in the cooler and we've let the fat come to the top and start solidifying. And we're just taking it off. So all we have is our pure chicken broth. We're just trying to get rid of the chicken fat right now. So that chicken fat you can add to, like, if you make your own dog food, different recipes maybe that call for it. But we're just getting rid of the fat, so that way when you can this stuff and prep it, it's not real greasy. Okay, what we'd like to do is take our cored tomatoes that are peeled, cored, bad spots are taken out. We'll go ahead and put them in the processor. You don't have to do this. You can chop them if you want to. But we're just making chopped tomatoes right here that you would have in your stews, chicken stew, chilies, and things like that. So these are mostly thawed from the frozen ones on the previous video, and you'll see the end result. Okay, you can see how fast this goes. One thing about this is it's not making it into a paste. The blade that we have does chop it pretty good. It does take the seeds and stuff and mixes them up. If you're one that likes chunkier tomato bites as you're eating your stews and chilies, you might want to hand chop it. We don't want it to be a paste, but we also don't like the huge chunks and stuff. So this is how we do it, but the other options are available to you, just a personal preference. Okay, next we're doing the onions. And again, all we're doing is chopping this. I'll have the recipe and the amount and everything at the end of the video, but we're just chopping these onions to go along with our tomatoes, chicken broth, so on and so forth. Everything is obviously subjective to taste. If you like a lot of onions, you can add more. If you like a lot or less tomato, add more or less. So same with the chicken. If you like a really meaty type stew, add more chicken. So just try it out, see which one's better for you. Okay, we've already prepped our potatoes. These are Yukon potatoes from our garden. They were peeled and chopped last night. If you want to pre-prep, all you can do with your potatoes, you can go ahead and chop them and then cover them with water. Try to keep them cool. Historically we have put ice bags on top of this just to keep the water cool, but it keeps them from turning like brown or dingy yellow. And so we were able to prep this last night, and hopefully we'll start making the stew short. Okay, so out of the 20 pounds, it's 2 10-pound bags of chicken leg quarters. We've boiled it, deboned it, got the bones, the cartilage, and the skin off of it. You can see it's just at 6 pounds. So that's what you're going to end up with. 20 pounds turns into 6 pretty quick. Okay, we've got everything done. We've got our cooker lit. Onions, potatoes, tomatoes, a little more tomatoes just in case, corn, chicken broth, and Nana's got the chicken. All right, Nana, what we're going to do first?
I'm going to add the broth, but I don't use all the broth because we like our chicken chicken stew a little thick, so I do about 3/4 of it.
Okay, and I will have the recipe for a single batch at the end of the video. You can see she's got a little bit left. And what we've done is we went ahead and doubled it because we're doing a bunch of canning along with this. There goes some of the tomatoes. Here comes the rest of the tomatoes. Again, we've doubled this recipe, but I will have the recipe for a single, and you can just double it, triple it, do whatever you want. This is our corn, whole kernel of corn.
You're blessed to have most of these ingredients.
This all came from our garden. The only thing we had to buy was the chicken. And I think I looked it up. It was $13.80 for the two 20-pound bags of leg quarters. There goes our onions.
And that will give us
Right at
14.
14 quart jars
We like a
of
lot
chicken
of
stew.
chicken.
We do like a lot of chicken. This, I weighed this. Well, you can see previously, it was 20 pounds of chicken leg quarters after it's boiled, deboned, skins removed, cartilage. You got right at 6 pounds. So for us, 6 pounds does about 14 quart jars, which, you know, for a family of two, quart jar is a meal. So 14 meals for $13.80, a little bit of elbow grease, and it's pretty good. It is good for you. Something to keep in mind, this is a commercial grade pan that we've used. If you didn't have a really, really good pot to mix this stuff in on top of the burner, your potatoes and your corn will stick. So you would have to constantly stir it. For us, with this pot, we know that as soon as it starts to just have little bubbles, then we're going to start constantly stirring until it comes to a boil. Then we're going to turn it down and let it simmer. All right. This has started boiling, and I am stirring it every now and then because of our high quality pot. The one thing that I wanted to pass along, these potatoes are not going to be done. However, Nana's in there getting the pressure cookers ready on the stuff that we're canning. And so when you're pressure cooking potatoes, that'll continue to cook them, and they'll be ready when you open the jar. So don't worry about the potatoes not being done here if you're going to be canning. If you're cooking this for, let's say, a volunteer fire department or something like that, you want to make sure everything boils really good and gets done. But since we are canning, they don't have to be done. The canning process will finish it off. Okay, you can see it boiling a little bit. What we do is we just stir it. We're trying to let it simmer. Now Nana's about to add some salt. Now she's not going to add as much salt. The recipe calls for salt to taste, but as we all know, our grandparents and parents, you know, a lot of times it's just like they know what to put in it. So maybe try a little bit. You can always add more, but you can't take it away. One thing I wanted to add, you just saw Nana putting in canning salt. We're canning this, so she uses canning salt. But let's say you're at a volunteer fire department making a chicken stew for a fundraiser of some kind. Then you would use regular salt because people are going to consume it immediately or the next day. But since we're canning this stuff, we have to use canning salt. Pepper's going to be the same, and both of them are to taste. A couple of things I wanted to add. As you can see, it's boiling just a little bit, just constantly stirring, simmering it. If you're doing this for canning, you want to just follow this. If you're doing this for a fundraiser, for a wounded veteran, or a volunteer fire department, whatever it could be, you want to use regular salt. Another thing you're going to want to do is make sure to go ahead and boil your potatoes. Get them done. Put them in here, get your seasonings, mix everything together, stir it up, get it to a boil, let it die down, and then you can start packaging it in your pints or quarts. Again, we spent $13.80 on the chicken, had everything else from the garden. Maybe some volunteers or your community can donate some of the stuff. But I think you could probably get everything and make a batch for, say, $20 and then sell it for $50, that kind of thing. So have any questions, please leave a comment and we're happy to answer them. All right. Okay. So we got our quart jars. They're all sanitized, washed, single, double, triple washed per Nana. We don't add nothing to it. We got our mouth and we got grandstand in here. Filling them up to about the bottom of the neck right here. And then Nana's got her lids, which are those little flat things, if you're not familiar. And then she's got her rings.
Good.
In this, the lids are the only thing that is not reusable. There we go. So she takes that, sets another one out, grabs that. You got to make sure to wipe the rim of the jar off. And what she does is she coats that paper towel in a little bit of vinegar just to dry it off a little bit. Sanitize it again. Just hand tighten the ring on right here so it has a good seal. We set them over here. They're very hot. Be careful. And then as soon as we get all these done, we'll be ready for the canner. Okay, one thing that I do highly recommend, we just took a butter knife here. You kind of need to stir the stew around if you're canning, only because you need to get the air bubbles out of it. With the chunky ingredients in here, you could have air bubbles in there, and once you start to can it and it starts cooking in the canner, it could expand and it could bust your jar. So we just take a butter knife, stick it in there, get rid of all the air bubbles. They're going to float to the top as we stick that in there, and you should be good to go. Okay, we've got some canning done. This is one of the 14 quarts that we made in the canner. It looks really good and it tastes even better. If you have any questions, please comment below and we'll answer as many as we can get to. Please like and subscribe. If you know a veteran that needs some help, please check on them. Thanks for watching and God bless.